Welcome, dear learners. I'm Anna, your guide for today. We're exploring an enlightening speech by Anne Hathaway, an esteemed American actress known for her roles in award-winning films. Hathaway uses her voice for advocacy, which we'll see in today's speech. Her eloquent English provides a rich learning opportunity for us. Are you ready? Let's dive in.
When I was a very young person, I began my career as an actress. Whenever my mother wasn't free to drive me into Manhattan for auditions, I would take the train from suburban New Jersey and meet my father, who would have left his desk at the law office where he worked, and we would meet under the upper platform arrival and departure sign in Penn Station. We would then get on the subway together, and when we surfaced, he would ask me, "Which way is north?"
She opens her speech with a recurring question from her past. Which way is north? Here, north isn't just a cardinal direction, it's a metaphor for guidance, a goal, or a path that one needs to follow. This metaphorical use of language is common in English, giving richer, deeper meaning to sentences. The phrase is presented in the form of an indirect question, which serves to share information rather than seek a response.
I wasn't very good at finding north in the beginning, but I auditioned a fair amount, and so my dad kept asking me, "Which way is north?" Over time, I got better at finding it. I was struck by that memory yesterday while boarding the plane to come here, not just by how far my life has come since then, but by how meaningful that seemingly small lesson has been. When I was still a child, my father developed my sense of direction, and now, as an adult, I trust my ability to navigate space. My father helped give me the confidence to guide myself through the world.
In the phrase, which way is north, the verb is used to ask for information. The interrogative structure here involves switching the usual subject-verb order, north is, to form a question, is north. This is common in English when asking questions with be.
In late March last year, 2016, I became a parent for the first time. I remember the indescribable and, as I understand it, pretty universal experience of holding my week-old son and feeling my priorities change on a cellular level. I remember I experienced a shift in consciousness that gave me the ability to maintain my love of career and also cherish something else, someone else, so much, much more.
Anne uses a shift in tenses to emphasize the change in her life after becoming a parent. She switches from past tense to present tense, illustrating a transition from her past to her current situation. It's a great example of how tenses can be used to signify different time periods in English.
Like so many parents, I wondered how I was going to balance my work with my new role as parent. And in that moment, I remember that the statistic for the U.S.'s policy on maternity leave flashed in my mind. American women are currently entitled to 12 weeks unpaid leave. American men are entitled to nothing.
She discusses the concept of maternity leave, using passive voice in American women are entitled. Passive voice is used when the focus is on the action, not on who performs the action. It's often used in formal or informational contexts.
That information landed differently for me when 1 week after my son's birth, I could barely walk. That information landed differently when I was getting to know a human who was completely dependent on my husband and I for everything, when I was dependent on my husband for most things, and when we were relearning everything we thought we knew about our family and our relationship. It landed differently.
Anne uses the modal verb could to describe her condition a week after giving birth. Modal verbs like could are used to indicate ability, permission, request, capacity, suggestions, order, obligation, or likelihood.
Somehow, we and every American parent were expected to be back to normal in under 3 months. Without income? I remember thinking to myself, if the practical reality of pregnancy is another mouth to feed in your home, and America is a country where most people are living paycheck to paycheck, how does 12 weeks unpaid leave economically work? The truth is, for too many people, it doesn't. 1 in 4 American women go back to work 2 weeks after giving birth because they can't afford to take off any more time than that. That's 25% of American women.
The term paycheck to paycheck describes a financial situation, showing how prepositional phrases can be used to describe circumstances. Prepositional phrases like to paycheck start with a preposition and end with a noun, pronoun, gerund, or clause, the object of the preposition.
Equally disturbing, women who can afford to take a full 12 weeks often don't, because it'll mean incurring a motherhood penalty, meaning they will be perceived as less dedicated to their job and will be passed over for promotions and other career advancement. In my own household, my mother had to choose between a career and raising 3 children, a choice that left her unpaid and underappreciated as a homemaker, because there just wasn't support for both paths.
Here, Anne talks about the motherhood penalty, using the future tense in will be perceived. Future tense is used to discuss things that haven't happened yet, making it an important grammar aspect to master when discussing potential outcomes or predictions.
The memory of being in the city with my dad is a particularly meaningful one, since he was the sole breadwinner in our house, and my brothers and my time with him was always limited by how much he had to work. And we were an incredibly privileged family. Our hardships were the stuff of other families' dreams.
Anne uses the phrase sole breadwinner. This is an idiom in English. The breadwinner is the person who earns money to support the family. When she describes her father as the sole breadwinner, she's saying he was the only person in the family who was earning money. This term, often used in discussions about family dynamics and gender roles, provides a concise way to express this concept.
Paid parental leave is not about taking days off work. It's about creating the freedom to define roles, to choose how to invest time, and to establish new, positive cycles of behavior. Companies that have offered paid parental leave for employees have reported improved employee retention, reduced absenteeism and training costs, and boosted productivity and morale. Far from not being able to afford to have paid parental leave, it seems we can't afford not to.
Anne uses the phrase can't afford not to, demonstrating how double negatives can be used for emphasis. While they result in a positive meaning, double negatives are used to emphasize a negative situation.
When women around the world demanded the right to vote, we took a fundamental step towards equality. North. When same-sex marriage was passed in the U.S., we put an end to a discriminatory law. North. When men, like the men in this room and around the world, the ones we cannot see, the ones who support us in ways we cannot know but we feel, when they answered Emma Watson's call to be he for she, the world grew. North. We must ask ourselves, how will we be more tomorrow than we are today?
Anne uses the simple past tense in we took a step and we put an end. The simple past tense signifies completed actions in the past. Here, took, and put are irregular past tense forms. Unlike regular verbs that end in ed, irregular verbs have unique past tense forms that must be memorized.
The whole world grows when people like you and me take a stand, because we know that beyond the idea of how men and women are different, there is a deeper truth, that love is love and parents are parents. Thank you.
Anne ends her speech using simple present tense in love is love and parents are parents, emphasizing universal truths. The simple present tense is used to share facts, give directions, and in this case, express timeless truths. Great job, learners! We've explored Anne Hathaway's speech, focusing on grammar rules like verb tenses, modal verbs, and sentence structures, along with enriching our vocabulary. Be sure to revisit the speech and spot more of these elements.